need me to count it down still? Shane?
Do you like fantasy football and sports betting? Come join us here at the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast, where hosts Matt, Shane, and Jason talk about fantasy players, lineups, and sports betting to help you compete and win championships. And of course, some extra cash. Let's jump right into the show.
Welcome back to the studio for another episode of the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast. Matt and Shane with you tonight. Jason is at a work
slacker
event. Yeah, he's missing out on a pretty good episode, little chump. No, he's at a work event tonight, so unfortunately he is not able to join us, but of course, Shane and I are here tonight. Shane, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic, sir. It is great to be back. I am actually looking at what I have, and that is some beautiful, beautiful rankings for some dynasty quarterbacks, which I think is what our topic is for today, sir.
Yes, we are going to be going over our top 10 dynasty quarterbacks, our ranking-wise for that specific category. And I think what we're going to do for the next probably 4 to 5 episodes is we're going to go position by position where we have players ranked, probably starting out with just top 10. If there's a position that's a lot deeper that we do want to go into more depth, we might go into the top 15 for that specific position. But since Jason's not here tonight, we're just going to kind of dibble dabble a little bit in our quarterbacks and where we kind of have them ranked and how we kind of feel. Now, these rankings are still subject to change depending on draft, depending on offseason, spring training, injuries, so on and so forth. So keep in mind that it is a little bit of a subject to change. But before we jump into our actual rankings, guys, head on over to the old YouTube, okay? Because we are streaming live to the YouTube. Give us a subscribe, leave a comment, guys. We're still new to the whole video thing. We're still going to figure some more stuff out, get some more other platforms updated and put them out there. But you can also head over to the old X machine. You can find Shane at Shane Parlay FF. You can find myself at Matt_Parlay FF. And of course, you can find Jason at Jason Parlay FF. Hit us up, slide us some DMs, guys. The support actually has gotten a lot bigger here in the last couple of weeks. So we're going to keep doing our thing. And hopefully you guys continue to enjoy it, all right? Because we do want to continue to do this. You can follow us on any of the podcasting platforms, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. We are on all the podcasting platforms, Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast. Give us a follow. Leave us a 5-star review, guys. It really does help. So, Shane, before we jump into Dynasty rankings, do we have any splashy news, any recent splashy news that we need to touch base on? I feel like it's kind of been dead the last couple of weeks. There's been a few things, but...
Here's your fun fact of the day. Jaden Daniels is fast. That was the news that because the LSU Pro Day took place today, and that was the news of the day. Jaden Daniels is fast, and I thought that was hysterical because we already knew that. And 40 times are a scam. So, yeah. Just the overhype that happens with some of these prospects and the love that we have of what is, the 40 and some of those flashy combine drills is fun. So. Other than that, Jadeveon Clowney signing was the only other big news I think that's really happened. And I guess Mike Williams to the Jets we didn't touch on last time.
Where did Jadeveon, where did he sign at?
I believe the Panthers.
Carolina.
Yeah, I believe that he is the replacement for the once great Brian Burns.
What do you think about, it looks like this just came in yesterday, Josh Reynolds signing a 2-year, $14 million contract with the Denver Broncos?
I think that's not a bad landing spot for him. He will supplant what Judy's role was in that offense unless they add additional talent, which they don't have a ton of draft capital, so I don't know that they will do that. but it's a good scheme fit because they needed to fill the role that was left by Judy, and he didn't cost a lot, so it was a great addition.
Yeah, and then I do see that Cordero Patterson, I guess, is expected to sign a 2-year, $6 million deal with the Steelers. Okay.
Going to continue to cloud that backfield.
Yeah, it's great. I think Cordero's turning, like 31 or 32 this year. He's pretty up there. But some good news. J.K. Dobbins has been cleared for football activities, which, and according to Ian Rappaport, looks amazing. It's very explosive. So that's good news for J.K. Dobbins. Hopefully that Achilles tear did not ruin his career and he can come back strong. It's always good to see running backs come back from that.
Oh, 100%. And as someone who had J.K. Dobbins in a lot of leagues, I really hope that he comes back for those leagues. And also just in general, he was an explosive, fun player to watch. So it's just shame to when you see like those injury histories just create such a downward slope that there's.
Let me ask you this, Shane. Where would be a good landing spot for him? Because if he comes, I think he'll get dealt. I mean, maybe not, but I think he probably would get dealt. You see Dallas as a good landing spot, or
Dallas, I feel like would want to be one of the ideal landing spots. I think a sneaky landing spot for like a prove it deal. Mm-hmm. There's two, and it's because they're both. Well, one's a team that's competing. That's the Chiefs. They have the cap space after dealing Snead. There's not a whole lot of free agents out there that they really want to sign at this point. So I feel like there's a chance that they could maybe just spend on JK as a prove-it deal. I also think that the Arizona Cardinals are an interesting spot because they have James Conner, and they could possibly trade back in the draft and get additional draft capital, or set still and take what probably is going to be MHJ. So, there's some interesting wiggle room that's going to happen around the draft to figure out what happens, but I don't think he gets signed until after the draft because I think that most teams are focusing on the draft board at this point and moving forward from there.
Yeah. And, the crazy part is, too, James Conner has been one of the biggest winners right now in free agency because they haven't signed any. There is no, there's not really a competent backup there. So that could muddy the waters a little bit.
JK could go to Carolina or Vegas too, who both have standing running backs who probably shouldn't be standing running backs at the NFL level. But
right, yeah. I know Vegas signed Alexander Madison, but I still think Zamir White is the clear starter on that roster.
Yeah, neither one of them should be starting at the NFL level from everything that we've seen from either of them so far. But yeah, I also think Chuba Hubbard isn't a good running back, so we'll have to see what shakes out of both those teams. I think that there's an interesting chance that one of them will end up be one of the first teams to draft a running back. I think Dallas will be the certifiable first team to draft a running back, but I think that those two could be quickly behind drafting one of these RBs.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. We're really looking forward to this upcoming draft and these next couple of weeks, kind of going over some players on our rankings for you guys. So let's get on into it. All right, guys. It is now time for us to reveal our top 10 quarterback dynasty. Keep that in mind, dynasty rankings. Okay. Shane, do you want to kick it off? Do you want to go first?
Sure. So
I'm actually real curious, Shane. I'm real curious to see, because just so you guys know, Jason, Shane, and I, we have not revealed our rankings to each other yet. So this is going to be kind of the first time that we hear each other rankings. So I'm actually kind of curious to see if we have players in the same spots. I'm actually excited to hear this. So who you got number one?
All right, Dynasty QB number one is, without a doubt, in my mind, Josh Allen.
Oh, we do. We have our number ones are the same.
Yeah, I was close to moving him down, but I think that the rushing upside that Josh Allen presents is too great of an advantage. He's basically the ultimate Konami code quarterback, and I mean Lamar is also up there. So, but Allen being as young as he is, and Yeah, I think that it's a pretty no-brainer. But I think 2 is a no-brainer. So I want to hear who you have at 2, because I feel like the top 2 are just like their own tier, and then it becomes very, very different as soon as you hit like 3, 4, 5. I feel like that's where it gets wild.
And it very well could, because looking at my rankings right now, there's actually a couple that I might shuffle while in mid ranking here. So, but just to touch on your point with Josh Allen, he needs to be clearly the number one dynasty quarterback, like Shane alluded to. His rushing upside is outstanding. He's huge. He's physical. He's strong. We do know that he throws interceptions. That's just something that you're going to have to accept when you have Josh Allen on your roster. But at the end of the day, he's still going to get you 25, 30 fantasy points. Like, it's unreal. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's got weapons. They just signed Curtis Samuel this year, who I think a lot of people are sleeping on, that I think is going to have a fair amount of value this year for fantasy football. So, yeah, the clear pick for me was Josh Allen being number 1. Jumping in number 2 here, like you said, there is a quarterback. There's a quarterback that I could replace at number 2. I think there's 2 guys that I can probably flip-flop with number 2. I know Shane alluded to Lamar, but for me, I have it as Jalen Hurts as number 2. Who do you have?
No, that is not who I have it too.
Okay, then I think I know who you have it too. Well, let me just give my explanation. Listen, Jalen Hurts presents that same kind of rushing upside. Jalen Hurts gets 6 to 7 rushing touchdowns a year. Now, I know Jason Kelce has retired, but the tush push did not get banned, y'all. Okay, I think Philadelphia is still going to do the tush push. I think Jalen Hurts is still going to get you some rushing touchdown upside. I know they brought in Saquon Barkley. They did that for a reason. Maybe that's to save Jalen Hurts' legs a little bit. Maybe not. It is to be seen. But last year, I just feel like Jalen Hurts he really had a down year. I know that he was injured. He was back and forth. There were a span of like 5-6 weeks that he didn't really score that many fantasy points for you, and people are already hitting the panic button. I'm not to that point yet. Again, I think Jalen Hurts this year will present still having that upside. We know that he's got a good arm. He's got A.J. Brown. He's got Devonta Smith. Dallas Goedert should be healthy this year. I think, and you add Saquon Barkley, who's going to be able to catch out of the backfield as well. So, in my opinion, right now, currently, I still have Jalen Hurts as my number 2 ranked dynasty quarterback, and I feel pretty good about it. But there is another quarterback that I could put in that situation. So I'm curious to see who you have number 2.
Patrick Mahomes is my dynasty 2.
Okay.
I dislike agreeing with the consensus in those 2, because that's what the consensus ranking is. It's Josh Allen, Patrick, Jalen.
Okay.
I honestly, in my ranking, I'll just tell you who I have 3rd. It's Josh Allen, Patrick, Lamar, Jalen. And that's why I was like, I feel like they're pretty interchangeable. The upside with Patrick is that he is the best pure quarterback in the league. And you know what you're getting. And that's such a reliable thing in Dynasty. And he's going to be in the league until he wants to retire, if he continues playing the way he is. And Jalen has some serious question marks around him. And Lamar is getting up there in age, and Lamar can't do the things well that Lamar does as soon as he gets over that cliff in the mobility. And it's not hit yet, and I'm not saying it'll hit anytime in the next 3 to 4 years, but it will hit at some point in time, and as soon as that cliff hits, his dynasty value is just going to tank. And so investing, I always view like my rankings as like, if I were to start up, who would I choose? And I would choose Patrick over Jalen for the fact that there are questions around Jalen, and if he can continue to stay healthy, and Lamar being up there in age, when will he hit the cliff to stop being what's so special about him? If I'm in a redraft league, Lamar should be probably 2. But in a dynasty pure format, Patrick Mahomes, I feel like, is 2.
Yeah, and see, it's funny you say that, because you have your rankings your way, and I have Patty at number 3, and I have Lamar at number 4. But you're right; it's so close It is so close between those three guys. I don't need to expand on Lamar. You kind of hit that right on the head. One thing that I would like to see Lamar is, we always talk about Lamar just being a running back, basically, right? Last year, he did a pretty dang good job without Mark Andrews. Zay Flowers stepped up. OBJ had some good weeks. And then
Isaiah Likely's a freak.
Isaiah Likely. Yeah, Isaiah Likely. I forgot his name there for a second. He's an athletic freak. I would like to see Lamar maybe potentially you're still going to get the rushing upside with it. He's never going to stop running the ball. That's not who Lamar is, and he's going to be himself.
He's been Roethlisberger without the
yeah.
riding a motorcycle off into the sunset sitting. But yeah, he's been Roethlisberger. He's the big guy who's hard to take down. He's mobile, and he has a cannon. That's like
100%. But yeah, no, I have Patty at number 3 in my rankings just because, like you said, he's a pure quarterback. At first, when Hollywood Brown went to Kansas City and they signed him, I was ecstatic. For Kansas City and for Patty, because I think Hollywood's best year is going to be this year that he's had in the league. And I think he's a very big difference maker. These last 2 or 3 days, I've been listening to some other NFL fantasy analysts, and they're kind of, you kind of get the feeling they're kind of bagging on Hollywood Brown a little bit, always injured all the time and all this and that. I get that, but he's never really had a quarterback that can give him the ball nicely in open space. Kyler Murray has a cannon, we get that, and he had a decent year, but Lamar was not accurate when he was on the Ravens, when Hollywood was on the Ravens. He was just not an accurate quarterback, and he has improved since then. But now Hollywood Brown, at his skill level, his speed, and his talent for the game, is going to the best quarterback in the NFL, passing the football. He's not going to know what to do when the ball falls in his hands while he's in stride. You know what I mean?
You could be looking like MVS out there.
Yeah, I think that's why I have Patty. Like I said, Patty and Hurts, in my opinion, like you kind of alluded to, I could switch them at number 2 and 3. But as of right now, the only reason why I have Hurts ahead of Patty is the rushing upside. And Patty rushes the ball. It just doesn't look pretty. So
it is the most dad way to run possible. It's hysterical. And I think it's funny that he leans into that whole perspective too. When they were doing the post-game interviews and stuff like that, and he had a shirt off and everyone was making fun of his dad bod. He goes, I am a dad. Leave me alone.
Yeah. So, our top 4, we have all the same players in our top 4, which is probably the way it should be. Who do you have at 5? Because this is where I think it's going to get a little murky.
So I even asked the Twitterverse this exact question because I currently have CJ Stroud.
Dang it, dude. You and I have the same at 5.
So I have CJ Stroud at 5, but, and this is a big but, I am very tempted to move Caleb to 5. I think the only reason that I can't do that in good faith is the jump from college to the NFL is so hard, especially for a quarterback. And CJ put up the most insane rookie season we've ever seen at the position. To say that I expect Caleb to walk in and do the same thing is asinine. And
right,
I feel like he's already being hyped up so much that to put that kind of pressure on his needing to perform at that level,
right,
I can't do that in good faith. And so I feel like that's the reason why I can't usurp CJ. So CJ is my stopgap right now for how high I can put Caleb.
Okay, that makes sense. Here's my personal opinion, because you and I have CJ at 5. I have CJ at 5 as well. I know you love Caleb Williams, but like you just alluded to, you never know what's going to happen when a rookie into his first year in the NFL. He might. I don't foresee it happening. I don't foresee him being a quote unquote bust, because you got to give some rookies some slack. But Bryce Young had all this hype coming into the NFL last year, and he did nothing. Absolutely nothing with it. Now, the difference in talent around Caleb Williams versus the talent that Bryce had in Carolina, is astronomically different, but we just don't know what Caleb's going to be when he comes in the league. Because I like Caleb as a quarterback. I really do. I think he's a very pro-ready quarterback, and I think he's very mature. And I hope he does well, but it's hard to put him in these rankings with these other proven quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah. And I definitely get that. I think it's interesting because Caleb's going into the best situation a 1 overall quarterback has probably ever gone into. Chicago has what's graded currently as the 10th best offensive line in the NFL with the acquisitions they made. They have a good offensive unit with Swift and Keenan and DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. They added the pieces to let Caleb come in and be the guy and prove that he is the guy. I also think that Bryce and him are not the same caliber, and I think that that's a big difference. Like if Caleb would have come out last year, it would have been Caleb, Bryce, CJ. And I think that that's something that is a little bit misconstrued in the whole action of that. I think that there's a big gap between the talent that Bryce has and the talent that Caleb has. And CJ definitely has all of that talent, so it doesn't really go a whole lot there. Where'd you run off to? Was it getting too dark for you? You couldn't see?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, well, my family turned off all the lights in here, and because obviously I'm recording upstairs in the living room because our basement is not 100% finished yet, so I had to get up and turn the lights on.
I was just laughing at your pretty flowers too, man. You got a nice little good backdrop right there. Yeah, I need to get some.
Yeah, I mean, for our YouTube followers, I could put this in the backdrop. Just fantasy football trophy.
For those of you on the podcast, Matt is holding up a trophy. I have a matching trophy, but mine's like way over there, and I don't want to go get it right now. If I could have Vanna White go get it, I would have it, but she just rolled her eyes at me. So Vanna is not going to get the trophy for me.
Well, let me tell you a little stat on CJ, and then we can move on. He had 4,108 yards and 23 touchdowns in his first 15 games. That's crazy. He ranked third in league passing yardage per game at 273.9 among QBs that had at least 6 starts. He was let's see here, third in third in yards per attempt, and 6th in passer rating.
Yeah,
that's pretty darn good for a rookie.
It was the best rookie season produced by a quarterback in the history of the NFL. And it's going to be crazy if Caleb puts up numbers even close to that. He has the weapons that he should be able to do that. But the question is, will he be able to? And that's that's where I'm at. Like, I can't project that undeclared to do.
Right. It's hard to not see a positive path for Caleb with the talent around him, because CJ had, and Nico Collins is a great wide receiver. He's a good wide receiver. I don't know about great, but he's a good wide receiver. But he had Nico Collins and Noah Brown, and also Tank Dell, but Tank Dell got hurt. And Caleb's got Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift. I mean, he's got a slew of weapons.
Oh yeah, and one of the best pass catching dual threat tight end, one of the best inline tight ends in the NFL in Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
Which is
and this is. Go ahead. I was just saying, this is all speculation,
it's insane.
Dude.
The team that they have constructed is crazy.
Yeah, and this is all speculation. Just in case Chicago does not draft Caleb Williams, which we all know that that's who they're drafting, but the draft hasn't happened yet, so crazier things have happened. Okay, so Shane, I don't know if this is going to throw you off. My number 6 quarterback. I'm scared to say it, but I just have some high praise for him this year. I have Anthony Richardson at number 6 in Dynasty.
I don't hate that. I have him. You're going to be shocked by where I have him, because it's not too far down the list, but obviously Caleb is my 6. I just talked about.
Okay.
So Caleb is my 6. Anthony is my.
Well, don't say it yet. Don't say it yet.
Okay.
Oh, you said it.
I didn't say. I didn't say it.
Oh, okay.
Anthony's somewhere
So
on the 10 list. We'll put it that way.
Okay. Well, here's the. I'm putting Anthony Richardson at 6 just because even though he came out from his, this is his second year in the league, he is not like the same age as some of these other rookies, right? He's a little bit on the older than them. But man, the guy is just a freak of nature. In the short span that we saw him play last year, his rushing capability, his physicality was absolutely insane. And the guy has a cannon for an arm. Like, in my personal opinion, I think he's more accurate than Lamar was.
At that stage in his career, I definitely see the accuracy more on AR-15 than I did on Lamar at this stage. And I don't know if that's just recency bias. I would need to go back and watch film on Lamar at this stage and going into year. But we also saw so few snaps from AR-15 during the actual regular season that right. I think that this year is going to be very telling as to which direction his career trajectory is going to go. So it's not a make or break year, but this is definitely a situation where Shane Steichen is a fantastic coach and is a quarterback whisperer. He's going to do amazing things for AR-15. So I also have no doubt that AR-15 is going to have this fantastic season, but there is, again, the question mark of he basically didn't get a rookie season, so what's going to happen?
Right. And the nice thing is the Colts, as you all know by now, the Colts brought back Michael Pittman, who we all like as a wide receiver. He's a really good wide receiver. Joshua Downs is still there. Jonathan Taylor is still there. And from everything that I've been reading, JT's healthy. AR-15 is expected to be ready for spring ball coming off his surgery, so he should be fully healthy. So I'm very excited to see AR-15 at full strength.
Yeah, and that team, I think, has a very good chance of adding an additional talent at pick 15, which I don't want to talk about right now because it's going to lead into a discussion that will devolve. But I do think that there's a very good chance that if the board falls the way that they would like it to fall, they would fill a gap in their offense that has been a glaring gap for the last couple years.
Oh, I already know who you're going to say. But we'll get to that later.
It's a tease. You guys have to tune back in for the tease.
Okay, so you have Caleb Williams. I have AR-15. Who do you have at your 7 spot?
It gets spicy here for a multitude of reasons, but currently I have Joe Burrow. But
okay.
But okay. I don't know how long that will maintain. Joe is one of those guys currently that, based off of the injuries that are stacking up and the fact that his team is going to crumple around him due to cap restrictions, that I am unsure of where Joe Burrow will be in my Dynasty rankings next year. So he's like, you know how in music, it's a bullet, like a rising, you put a bullet next to the name of the song if it's a riser. Well, whatever the opposite of that is what I currently have at Joe Burrow, and he's a faller. I'm curious as to where he will fall in my rankings, but there are a plethora of young, talented individuals who do not have the significant injury history that he does, that I am pushing up my rankings, and at some point they may push past him.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that I do have Joe Burrow in my top 10, but he is not my 7. This might surprise you. It might. It might not surprise you, but when I was going through my rankings here and I was looking at players that I'm ranking for dynasty purposes, I started writing these quarterbacks down, and I got to this number 7. I wrote a name down. I finished my 10. I looked back and I said, did I do this right? Like, I literally kind of questioned myself, but I'm not going to change it as of right now. So at number 7, I have Jordan Love.
Oh, that was the player I was alluding to that is moving up, that I almost had him over. Because Joe Burrow and the next player I will list are both on the downward trend.
Yeah.
And so, and he is on a massive upswing. And so I am significantly high on the Jordan Love train. And
yeah,
if he can capitalize on the production he did last year, and maybe if Christian Watson stays healthy, that team is going to be dangerous.
I agree with you. Obviously, Christian Watson could not stay on the field last year. We saw Jordan Love make some throws that made my jaw drop to the floor.
It was Brett Favre-esque.
Yeah, super. Like, you saw that mix of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, like, put together in Jordan Love and some of the throws that he made. So, the crazy part is last year, no one really talked about Jordan Love early in the year. It was just towards the end of the year when he was really, like, balling out. People are like, holy crap, this quarterback's been great all year. He did have some miscues early in the season, and the Green Bay Packers as a whole didn't do very well their first part of the year. But the way that he conducted himself, the humbleness, just the person in general, he's a really down-to-earth dude, real cool. And the weapons, like you just said, that he has around him. If Christian Watson can stay healthy, Jaden Reed is a very good wide receiver. Romeo Doubs is a good receiver. Dontavian Wicks is a possession receiver. Like, he's got some not big names around him that really balled out better than some of these high-priced ranking wide receivers. And yes, they did get rid of Aaron Jones. They brought in Josh Jacobs. In my opinion, not bad at all. Like, I'm very excited to watch this offense. So I like Jordan Love this year. I really do. And I think he should be a person that people should maybe potentially target.
I think it should be a priority to acquire. If you do not have Jordan Love on at least one of your rosters, he's somebody that you should be actively, because there's the perspective that he hasn't officially made it yet, and that there's this big question mark around him. And I think that he kind of washed that last year. And I think that we're to the point where Jordan Love is defining that he is an NFL quarterback, and he's a really good NFL quarterback. And additionally, Dontavian Wicks, I think, usurps Romeo this year. So I think that I think Dontavian is Randall Cobb for the foreseeable future in Green Bay. That's my take on that aspect. But yeah, Jordan Love is flying up my rankings, and by the time draft season comes around, we kind of see what's added to different teams. He may officially be above, Joe Burrow and player to be named next, which I'll lead right into that.
Go ahead.
Justin Herbert is 8.
Oh man, you have J Herb. My love infatuation with J Herb at number 8. Go ahead and give me your prognosis here at why you have him at 8, because he is not currently in my top 10, and I feel so dirty saying that because I love Justin Herbert.
So J Herb is in my top 10 because he is still one of the most arm-talented, athletic quarterbacks in the league.
Mm-hmm.
All the Chargers did was shed old weight. That's what they did this offseason. Gerald Everett, gone. Keenan Allen, gone. Mike Williams, gone. All of those players over the age of 30. I guess Gerald Everett's 28, but it's Gerald Everett. So, meh.
Austin Eckler, gone.
Yeah, all of these aging commodities, the Chargers were like, we are done with this. We are going to get younger. We are going to build around this guy, and we're going to compete for the long haul. I think that if the Chargers don't trade back or take Joe Alt at 5, They could also take Brock Bowers. I think that there's a chance that they trade back and acquire one of these interesting wide receivers, like a Romeo Doubs at 10, or like that would be with them trading with Minnesota. But I think that there's a big option for them to add talent to the wide receiver room. And if they get one of these splashy ads, his stock's just going to go right back to where it was. And so I think that this is like if you want Justin Herbert on your team, I know that we don't know what the Harbaugh offense looks like, but if it looks anything like the past Harbaugh offenses in the NFL, they're not going to not throw the football. So just lean into it and buy the dip, I guess, because he's still an elite talent, and talent over situation 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I love that, and I just felt. I mean, I might just switch my rankings right now because I still feel dirty just not talking about Justin Herbert being in my top 10 because he's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league.
He is on a downward trajectory. If I were to say like cost wise, he is significantly fallen due to the loss of the talent around him. So like that cannot be overstated. The guys that are currently in that wide receiver room with Quentin Johnston and Josh Palmer are nowhere near to the talent that Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are. So that is without a doubt a very big issue. But he is still the guy there and will be for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I just feel dirty not having him there. Okay, so was that your number 8?
Yeah, that was my 8.
Okay, and my number 8 currently is Joe Burrow. We already kind of alluded to him and talked about him a little bit, so I'm just going to move on to number 9. Joe Burrow might be making a switch with Justin Herbert. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so my number 9 currently in my rankings kind of feels a little gross still saying this. My number 9, I kind of want to make a switch. No, I won't. My number 9, I have Trevor Lawrence. I have Trevor Lawrence as my number 9 quarterback. And the only reason why I say this is I know a lot of people are down on Trevor Lawrence, and he didn't convert at the end of the year. He didn't look very good at the end of the year. But I just keep reminding myself, he's a good quarterback. I mean, he's got an arm. He can run the ball if he wishes to. They used Travis Etienne so much last year, and I think people were buying the hype or buying the dip of forcing Calvin Ridley the ball. Zay Jones went down. I think there was some turmoil with Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk. But now Calvin Ridley's out the door. They brought in Gabe Davis. And Christian Kirk is still on that roster. I'm interested to see what Trevor Lawrence does this year because even though they got rid of a piece and brought in a different piece, I think this is a better passing attack this year, in my opinion. Evan Ingram is still there, signed a huge contract last year. And Evan Ingram kind of balled out last year. I mean, I think he was a top 8 or like a top 5 tight end at the end of the year. I'm really interested to see what the Jaguars can do this year with Trevor Lawrence in that passing attack. Because I like Trevor Lawrence as a guy. I like him as a quarterback.
I don't have T-Law in my top 10, but he is sitting just outside at 12.
Okay. And that's not a bad number for him, Matt. I think he's sitting at 11, 12, 13 and on a lot of people's boards right now.
Yeah, and it's it comes down to the cost to acquire T-Law is actually probably at the lowest point that it's been at in a while. So, like, again, if you want to acquire T-Law for your team, this is a great situation to go do so. Christian Kirk is going to absolutely dominate the slot, which is where he should have been playing last year, and they had Calvin there. Zay Jones coming back is going to be massive, and Evan Ingram is that dude at tight end. So, yeah, I think that that's a decent spot to end up at, and I don't think that it's necessarily out of order to have him ranked at 8. I think that that's actually a pretty solid option for him. So he's I had to fit AR in here somewhere, and that's where he kind of fell out.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, it's right now it is kind of hard to buy the dip on Trevor Lawrence. He's one of those guys, and the Jaguars are one of those organizations where it's like it's so hard to see the clear path for them. It's hard to see, like, is this team actually going to be successful this year? Because last year they started so hot. They were mid-season, still one of the hottest teams in the NFL, and then all of a sudden it was just downhill from there. So it's hard to see that path. But I'm not ready to just give up on I'm not ready to give up on him yet. So Trevor Lawrence, don't let me down.
Yeah. I don't think he probably will this year. I think that it's probably a nice bounce back spot, and I may be regretting not having him in my top 10 at this time. But we're to 9 now. Right? I'm not crazy.
Yes. No, you're on 9.
Yeah.
I had JB at 8, so I skipped 8 and went to 9.
Okay. My 9 is Jordan Love.
And that's a good spot. I mean, he should definitely be in the top 10 in everybody's Dynasty rankings.
He is consensus 13 right now, which
really?
I feel like is oddly low. He's actually below T-Law, Dak, and Kyler, along with a slew of other players. But yeah, it goes, 13 is, so 10 is set at Caleb, then T-Law, then Dak, then J-Love on X for consensus rankings. So,
give
I'm
a little brief,
I'm on board with J-Love there.
Give some brief summary of J-Love. Why do you like him so much?
I mean, we kind of discussed this earlier. His weapons are really good. The Packers have done an excellent job building that wide receiver room. His processing looked impeccable last year, and he has the arm talent. He has the athleticism you're looking for, and he can make all of the off-platform throws. He doesn't seem to get rattled in games. He did have a couple of really bad picks last year because he was doing too much, but that will go away with maturity. And I think that he has what should be a great opportunity to expand on his success last year. So I think that it's a spot where you're catching the wave, essentially. Like, I think that Jordan Love's wave is here, and he's going to ride that thing, and hopefully that team can maintain and gets healthy. If Christian Watson can get healthy, he had such a great chemistry with C-Watt that if C-Watt can get healthy and can be the guy that everybody has dreamt of Watson being, there's no reason that this team can't compete.
Yeah.
At least on the offensive side. At least on the offensive side.
Right.
Their defense is a myriad of concerns, but the offensive side should be a very sound unit this year.
Yeah, I'm like we said before, and what Shane just alluded to. I'm on the J-Love train. So, all right, I'm gonna go to my last one here.
Wait, who do you?
If you saw him,
oh, you had 9. Your 9 was T-Law. Okay.
Yep. So number 10 for me. I don't know if you saw me reach over and write something down. I just adjusted my rankings a little bit, and I actually moved Justin Herbert to 10. But before I did that, my consensus number 10 was Caleb. Okay, we've already kind of talked about him. I don't want to leave him outside the top 10 just because I know he's going to be such a high draft capital. He's going to be one of the first players picked in rookie drafts. And if I were, before we talked about it, this was before they traded for Keenan Allen. I think we even talked about it before they traded for DeAndre Swift. I was not particularly high on Caleb at the team he was going to go to because the only one that he had to throw to was DJ Moore. But now, getting Keenan, getting DeAndre Swift, they are setting Caleb up to have a fantastic year. So if I'm in a draft, I kind of want to get pieces. I kind of want to buy the dip on getting pieces of that rookie on my roster, even if it's not my week 1 starter, which it shouldn't be. I want to know that he's on my bench, ready to fire up, and know that I have a long-standing quarterback in dynasty leagues for the future. So I do want to buy the pieces of him. I think he's going to be going to a perfect situation with weapons around him. The team itself is getting better. They did a little bit on defense. I'm just excited to see what he can do in the NFL.
Yeah, and speaking to that point, where would you draft Caleb in a rookie draft? A one quarterback rookie draft, not like Superflex. Superflex, he's one overall. There's without a doubt he's one overall. A one quarterback, where do you take him? Because that is the interesting point. I know that there's not a ton of one quarterback dynasty leagues out there, but we play in a couple, and
I think he should probably go 104, 103, 104. Maybe, yeah, somewhere right around there.
Okay. I have him at 105.
Okay.
Mostly because
I could see 105.
Mostly because I think that the top 3 wide receivers all go, and then Bowers, and then
probably Bowers. Yeah. I could see 105 too. I could definitely see that. But if you were a team that was, I don't think he's going to go 101 or 102 no matter what. I could see him going 103, but I probably wouldn't take him there. But you're probably right. I think it's going to be 104, 105.
Oh yeah.
It's probably.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like right in that vicinity, I think is where he is in one quarterback drafts. I think it would be really interesting when we finally get the data on that. Like, where did he average? Like, what is his ADP in rookie drafts in one quarterback specifically? Because it's such a strange dynamic where, like, you want to value him because he could be the next top 10 dynasty guy, but at the same time, wide receivers and tight ends have such a priority in single quarterback leagues. So, it's a very interesting topic.
Let me ask you this. Let's say you're a dynasty roster that has, 3 or 4 solid wide receivers with some okay backups on your bench. And you have Trevor Lawrence and I don't know, Russell Wilson on your roster. You still going, and you have the 103. Do you take that chance, or do you still go with one of the top 3 receivers?
I feel like I would still. I feel like I would probably. It'd be hard to move off Caleb at that point, but at the same time, I feel very strong about the Elite 3 that exist.
Okay.
So
I'm the same way.
Even if I will say that probably at that point I would swing on Caleb, because if he does well, he will only grow in value. And if you have a wide receiver who you take who ends up putting up JSN numbers, their price gets cut in half, and you're trading them for back end round 1 pick next year. Like, it's just you have to bake in. And even if Caleb doesn't have a fantastic year, which I don't think is going to happen, I think he's going to have a great year. But even if he has like a mediocre rookie year, he's still going to have and command the value that is probably like 104 next year. So I think it's just a very interesting spot.
I'm in agreement with you there. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, unfortunately, in our main dynasty league, I don't have a first or a second round pick, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, Shane, who do you have at your 10 spot?
My 10 is AR-15. And it was close between AR-15 and Kyler Murray. But I had to move Kyler. I've moved Kyler down pretty significantly. Kyler was at like my 7, and then I kind of just readjusted everything, adding Caleb up, and then increasing Jordan Love to where I think he needs to be within Dynasty.
Yeah.
So AR-15 ends up at 10 for me, and I think he is also one of those people that has the bullet next to his name. Like, if he comes out the first 3 weeks, if he comes out the first 3 weeks and balls out, he 100% will probably be like quarterback 7 for me. And like if he continues to ball for the rest of the season, we'll probably move up to like 7. But I think that Caleb, like it's cool because we have all these young quarterbacks. If he and Caleb have very similar stats going forward, I'm still going to prefer Caleb.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. Okay, guys, that's going to wrap up. That's going to wrap up today's episode. As you guys heard, we just went over our top 10 dynasty rankings at quarterback. Remember, guys, this stuff will probably fluctuate here and there throughout this off season. And we'll probably do another segment down the road when the season gets close to do our finalized, updated roster rankings for each position. But as of right now, we just wanted to give it out there a little bit because we know that there's trades going on right now in Dynasty. So be smart with that, all right? And Jason, I hope you had fun at your little work thing, but you better be back to work next week. So remember, guys, go and follow us. Give us our subscribes, our 5-star reviews, any comments you guys want, and make sure you're tuning into our YouTube channel every Thursday night at 7 p.m. We're going to be live, 7 to 7:15 p.m. start time. So with that being said, Shane, I think you know what to do.
Hey, man, this is Dynasty. Having a hard stance is great, but be flexible. Understand that it's a continuously moving target. That's it.
We love you all. Yeah, we love you all so very much. Thanks for all the support. To the moon and back. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.